Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. I am Sheila Gunn Reid, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host from Regina, Saskatchewan, Lise Merle. This is the Rebel Roundup, our daily news and opinion show, and on Wednesdays, it's the Western Roundup. We have our Buffalo panel, wherein we do our best to bring in two distinct and different voices from the prairies, what should have been known as the province of Buffalo, wherein we talk about issues facing Western Canadians. And so often those issues facing Western Canadians are Eastern Liberals. And today we are joined by two new people. But before we bring those guys on, watching us on Rumble, you can leave a Rumble rant. That's your paid chat over there. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we're reading it on air. And if you are on YouTube, you can leave their paid chat over there. It's called Super Chat. But also, if you're watching the recorded version of the show, you can leave a paid comment called a Super Thanks. So, Lise, actually, I'll leave the introductions up to you, Lise, because these are your two guests that you
booked. It's a true story. Well, everybody, do we have a treat for you today? We've managed to wrangle two of the most considerate and noisy voices in conservative media. Our first guest is a seasoned business owner and consultant. He's a former media personality, a political strategist and pundit, known for his no-nonsense takes on the issues that matter. It also so happens that this person is my dude best friend. This is going to be a supreme treat for us to be reunited in the media landscape. His name is Michael Carruth. He comes to us today from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Our next guest is a proud Albertan, an entrepreneur, a father, a husband, and an unapologetic conservative. He's the voice behind a patriotic apparel brand, giving Canadians a way to wear their values. Known for his bold commentary and no-nonsense content, he speaks for freedom, family, and the future of this country. He is none other than Berta Proud Dad. So welcome to the show, boys. And it's so good to have you guys here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's Lise and Michael used to be on John Gormley's show together once in a while, so we're getting the band back together.
The band is getting back.
This is the Beatles reuniting all across the golden rectangle of Saskatchewan. Little leftist heads are exploding. Are just exploding by this, and nobody loves it more than me and Michael. So it's just great to have. It's just great to have you here, boys. Yeah.
Okay, let's get into what happened last night. Last night was the Battle River Crowfoot Candidates Forum. Definitely not an all candidates forum, because there are 210 candidates in that riding, which irritates me greatly. I'm not sure what Elections Canada does around here anymore. But they did have 10 candidates on the stage. Grant Abraham of the United Party of Canada unleashed on the current state of Canada during the by-election debate. Let's show that video, and then we will get some comments from the gentleman.
I'm here because I've spent a lifetime watching elections be decided in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I've watched the West have the raw end of our structure in our Constitution. And I think that what we're really looking at here in Alberta right now is a discussion between what Canada we want to have. If it's the one that has had the West paying for the pandering to Ontario and Quebec, or whether it's one that wants to see an Alberta strong, free, and independent that can actually stand up and make a difference in this world and actually redefine Canada. And so my discussion tonight, my platform is about a strong and sovereign Alberta and its independence. And I think there's a lot of things in Canada that we're not talking about in relation to the public forum. And I believe that farmers are producers and not polluters. I believe that oil and LNG are a requirement for human prosperity. I believe that reverse racism is racism. I believe the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to humanity. I believe that compelled speech is not a Canadian value. I believe that multiculturalism has failed, and I believe that there are only two sexes. One of the challenges that we have here tonight is that there's a lot of trust, and I had my trust in the Conservative Party of Canada as well. But we are facing a threat in this nation of post-nationalism. And in this last 10 years, we've had Justin Trudeau commit to Canada being the first post-nation state. We've had a severe undermining foreign interference, and Justin Trudeau has told us that COVID would provide an opportunity for a reset. There has not been one challenge to the...
Okay.
So I think he's saying some pretty conservative things, things I think we probably all wanted to hear from the Conservatives during the last election campaign. And as I said last night, he's leaving it all on the dance floor. But I don't think Grant is going to win the riding, obviously. I'll go to Michael first. What is your response to what he had to say there?
He hit all the notes.
Yeah.
He hit every single note that every Conservative in Western Canada and Conservatives outside of Western Canada should believe in. So that was great. It was really good. And the unfortunate part about being a Conservative in Canada is even though you hit the high notes, it still probably won't get you elected because that's not the way the East or Atlantic Canada feel about values. They've been co-opted by the Liberals. They've been co-opted by the left wing. So on the face of it, fantastic. I can understand why Pierre has not been that vocal about going that hard because his strategists and his polling would tell him that basically some of those are losing issues. So I thought it was a great first statement by Grant. Now, I think he fell off the rails during the rest of the debate.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens in this. And I refer to this as the hooked on phonics election, because I guess you can just write in somebody's name, and if it's close enough, they say, okay, that's got to go to Poilievre, which is another issue altogether. So this is the very, very first Canadian hooked on phonics by-election.
Yeah, it's true with the write-ins, and just about every ballot is going to need to be scrutinized because nobody can spell Poilievre's name right. Like I spell it wrong multiple times a day. My
I don't
fingers
think he
just
knows how to
can't
spell
type
his
it.
last name.
Yeah. Berta Proud Dad. I think Michael's right. There are two different kinds of conservatives in this country, and they all are within the same party. There's a very different Western style of conservatism versus the Doug Ford, Tim Houston version of it.
Absolutely there is. And that's the thing, is we are such a large country. We are a large country, and we do have a large landmass, but conservatism in the East is completely different than conservatism in the West. Conservatives out here, we are so tired. We are sick and tired of Ottawa ruling over us and being against us every step of the way. Conservatives out East don't necessarily see that because they're just used to Eastern politics, what happens in the East. Out here, conservatism means something different, I truly believe, than what it does in the East. Now, what Grant said there totally aligns with me. Totally aligns with everything. It was just like I was standing there on stage doing a little speech. But the thing is I don't think we are ever going to be at a point in this country, and I'm going to lose a lot of support for this, but I've always said this: we are not a fringe party country. I truly do not believe that we are.
Yeah.
And you know, Pierre Poilievre, I've been a big supporter of Pierre Poilievre. Does he hit all the notes? No, he doesn't, but he's got a base, right? Just like Justin Trudeau had a base, just like Mark Carney has a base, they all have a base. And he also has to look after all Canadians when he's a leader of a political party. So did Grant say all the right things? Absolutely he did. Does Pierre have to be a little more aggressive? I think he does. In the federal election, he definitely needed to be as well. And I've expressed that. He needed to be more aggressive. Albertans, people from Saskatchewan, people from the West, we expect more than I believe the Conservatives in the East.
Yeah, I think you might be right, and it like any election is, you just pick the most electable, best of the worst.
Absolutely.
That's just how it works. Let's go to clip 2. This is Poilievre on the problems with immigration in this country. He's just Mr.
The cause
Slip
of
Up.
inflation is government. Cost, yes, it's very simple. Supply and demand. The government is boosting demand and limiting supply. They're boosting demand through out of control immigration and money printing that adds more money and people than new products for them to buy. And they're restricting the supply of things by blocking everything from home building to natural resource development. So what's the solution? We need to cut back on immigration. In fact, we need to have negative population growth for the next several years as more people leave than come. We need to slash bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, corporate welfare, and handouts to fraudulent refugees. And we need to unlock our resources to produce cheap energy and affordable homes. So let's produce more stuff rather than adding more people and more money.
Great answer. Simple.
Thank you, Pierre.
Okay, I'll go to Lise first because I didn't go to her last time. Although I was there with you reacting live.
Yeah.
This is a very popular issue, not just with conservatives, but all the polling data says across all parties, including the NDP, people think that immigration levels are just too high. Now that varies by party, but once you tell people what the immigration levels are, they sort of are like, what? But again, should have said this during the election.
I was just going to say that these all would have been great points to make in the lead up to the federal election. If the Conservatives were looking to garner votes from other parties, especially the woman vote, saying things like this in the lead up to the election would have had a monumental impact. We know that immigration is stressing all of our public infrastructure, whether it be housing, whether it be healthcare, whether it be education, pick your poison. We know that immigration has had a negative impact on our life in Canada, that it has been growing at a rate that is untenable by Canadians or by Canada to be able to be absorbed, to absorb this many people all at once. And again, it would have been really nice to have heard him say these things in the lead up to the election. Is he wrong? No, he's not wrong. He's just late.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not going to make him popular with the bureaucrats, but I mean, Carney says he's going to slash the bureaucracy too. I'll believe it when I see it. But it's good to finally hear the Conservatives use the language of fraudulent refugees, because before we've just been calling them economic migrants, illegal
asylum seekers.
They haven't even really used the word illegal. They've been using irregular migration to deal with the people flooding across the border. This is a welcome change in tone from the Conservatives. Michael, comments?
Yeah. See, the Liberals had to do this because they have killed pretty much every industry in the West. And the only thing to keep the GDP numbers up is consumerism. So you can actually keep up the GDP numbers by bringing a lot of people in. Now, unfortunately, it's a very short-term solution because many immigrants now are propped up by government dollars in terms of benefits that they receive that regular Canadians who have lived here all their lives do not receive. So it is short-term gain for long-term pain. And it's not a great situation. The fear, and the left have got this, they've got this right from their perspective. And everybody who comments about this from the left is being referred to as a racist, right? That's the issue. The left have been able to effectively frame the immigration issue not as one of an economic issue, but one as a race issue. And we as Conservatives, we don't stand up to that nearly as much as we should.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because polling data released earlier this week shows that new Canadians, people who went through the proper processes to become Canadian citizens and to contribute to this country, they are more concerned about immigration levels than regular old Toronto boomers. And of course they are. I mean, they came to Canada with the idea that they would be able to access the Canadian dream. They uprooted their lives somewhere else and brought it here. And they're like, this is not what we signed up for. And
Well,
they feel like they got the bait and switch.
They left a country only to arrive in their old country. That's what their complaint is. So,
Yeah.
Berta Proud Dad, what say you?
Yeah.
So I love what you said about Pierre being late.
Yeah.
This is one big thing during the federal election that I did multiple videos on, podcasts about Pierre not hitting the right points during the federal election. Immigration matters to conservatives. And now we're starting to see through the polling that immigration matters to everybody. But I want to remind people, how did we get here? How did we get to this point? We got to this point by opening up the floodgates and being one of the most vulnerable countries where you can come and take advantage of a socialized system. And that's where we are, and here we are. Throughout that whole time, I was talking about it. And what was I labeled as? A racist. A racist throughout this whole thing. But then you have the left who can now say, you know what? We messed up. Yeah, we let too many people in. Like they weren't responsible for it. The left are the party that will create a problem and then give you a solution to fix it and then expect praise.
Yeah.
And for Pierre Poilievre to come out and say what he said, I agree with him, but why wasn't this said during the federal election? And that's a big question that I ask myself is I think they learned a big lesson in the federal election, that he did not come out swinging hard enough. And now why I'm a proponent that he needs to sit in the House is because when he faces Mark Carney in the House, he's going to be swinging a lot harder than he ever has, because he learned his lesson.
Yeah, and you can take that sentiment and apply it across the board to so many segments of the things that are important to conservatives, whether it be healthcare and the absolute disaster that Canadian healthcare is. You can apply this to radical gender ideology. We didn't hear boo from the conservatives on radical gender ideology throughout the entire election campaign. And you know what? That would have grabbed the women. It wasn't that Pierre Poilievre struggled to get the men. I mean, you two are both evidence of this, right? Like we all know the men loved Pierre Poilievre. It was the women that we needed to gather, and they didn't use the things that were important to women. So I hope the Conservative Party is listening to all of these conservatives, telling them what we need to hear reflected back from them.
Yeah, I appreciated. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, it just for some reason during the election campaign, he got scared.
Yes.
He got scared of his own positions. So what he was worried about, Ron Feucht he writes a magazine called Campaigns and Elections in the US. And he's got a great book called Winning Elections. And there's two ways you can actually garner an electorate. You can tell them what they want to hear, or basically you can be who you are and then gather the votes from that. More ethical way is tell them exactly what you stand for and then find the votes. But you don't basically survey the crowd and say, okay, what do you want me to be? How do you want me to act? And what he did is during the election, is he did exactly that. He got scared for some reason because he listened to people around him, and he should have gone with his gut.
Well, he only said what was palatable to the left. And as long as you stay within the confines of what's palatable to the left, you will never move the needle and compel people to understand that conservatism is way better for all of the reasons, of the reasons. But so long as we're staying in the well, we don't want to offend the leftists, you're never going to get anywhere. And so I hope that they learned their lesson. Yeah.
To the talking point on that, where he got scared, I truly believe he got scared when he did come out and say he was going to cut federal jobs in a riding full of federal jobs.
Yeah,
I think he saw his polling. I think he saw his polling starting to drop after that in his riding, and I think his team brought him together and said, "Hey, we need to redeem ourselves here, but it was too late. And that was a big concern for me. And I respect the man for coming out, because he stood on his platform and he said exactly what he needed to say in a riding that he knew a lot of people are working for the federal government, and said, I have to cut your jobs. And when he comes out later after the election, and it was one of the reasons why he says that he lost his riding, which I'm a true believer in, he comes out and says, you know, I stood on what I believe in, and we still have to cut federal jobs in this country. We still have to do it.
Could they have done a better job? You remember when Javier Milei became president, and he had that great big whiteboard of government institutions, and he just started pulling Post-it notes off of that great big whiteboard and being like, we're going to take this out. We're going to take this out. He provided specific examples of government waste so unbelievable that people supported him in that. So was it that he said that he was going to get rid of government jobs, or was it that he just wasn't specific enough? Because I think that if we talked about gutting Women and Gender Equity Canada, who was absolutely infiltrated with radical trans activists, people would have—
And foreign affairs nonsense. That's one of the worst.
$11 billion to foreign LGBTQIA initiatives. 11 billion Canadian dollars going towards this. Did he not use specific enough examples? I think that might be the issue. So
that's a great point. Great point.
I think that the issue might be here. We saw it happen in Argentina, but we're seeing it with Doge. We didn't get the buy-in in the US. And it's partially because of this, because things are still too good in the US. If you're dealing with an economy that's got 200% inflation, as opposed to an economy that's got 3 or 4% inflation, you can waste a bunch of more money. Problem we have in Canada, and it's not a problem, but it's a reality. It's not bad enough yet for people to change their mind, right?
That's what boggles my mind. That's what boggles my mind, is it's not bad enough yet. Except we have we have inflation, we have house prices, grocery price, like and it just boggles my mind that it's not bad enough yet.
And the thing is, until it gets to the point where we got 100% inflation, where we've got the dollar doesn't mean anything, that's the time that you're going to wake up people. But the thing is, through conservative policies, through oil and gas, through a bunch of things that the left hate, we become prosperous, and we've got a bit of a bank account. Our bank account is slipping. It's getting into overdraft right now, but it's still not bad enough. And that's why the left actually have a stronghold in Eastern Canada, in the Maritimes, because they've got a backstop of the government that is continuing to print money. So, you know, I'd love to be able to say that we're in a situation. Why can't people see this? It hasn't gotten bad enough yet, and we really are going to feel some pain before we see some change.
Very good point. Very good point. Because as long as they keep printing money, the money's always going to be there, and as long as they keep getting their handouts, they're going to be okay.
It's that old saying: gradually, then all of a sudden, right?
Yes.
They'll keep on, and then all of a sudden, one day the checks won't come, and they'll say, "How did this happen?" Right? It happened in Greece. I'm very familiar with it in Greece, right? Because that's where my parents are from. But the thing is, they didn't wake up to it until it was actually too late.
That's true. When they were selling airports for like $1,500 in Greece, they were like, "Where did all the money go?"
What happened?
The port, the Piraeus port in Athens, is no longer owned by the Greeks; it's owned by the Chinese. The biggest shipping port in Greece is owned by the Chinese because they couldn't afford to keep it.
They couldn't afford their own public infrastructure. That's exactly what happened. And this is because we're seeing shades of this happen in Canada, right? With
BC
you know,
ferries.
the government of British Columbia commissioning a Chinese ferry building company to we're seeing this happen in Canada. But you're right, Michael. We just need to suffer more.
And that's the unfortunate thing, is because I don't want anybody to suffer. But if we keep on voting for left-wing parties, including the Liberals, they're just voting for more suffering.
Well,
that's all they're voting for.
this is a perfect argument for separation and the sovereignty of the West, because we're seeing in increasing numbers that we're never going to be able to win. Okay, they've got the population, they've got the voting bloc, and we're never going to be able to vote our way out of this. So for people in Western Canada who are seeing everything broken, where we see our neighbors suffering and our public institutions crumbling, we think to ourselves, well, okay, maybe we should just try it our way then, instead of being forced to eat it their way. Maybe we'll try it our way and see if we can make things better. And I do believe that as Westerners, we would be able to make that work.
Okay, we'll go on to the next clip because we're running out of time in the half hour here.
Olivia, so fast.
I know, right? I'm gonna skip the Catherine Swampy clip because she's just really my political muse for the last 10 years. Like, no one else needs to worry about her. But Michael mentioned where Grant Abraham went off the rails, and this clip here is a big one for me because he was using liberal talking points that actually don't make any sense. So let's listen to this, and then I'll get Michael and Bird Proud Dad to react.
We need to look at farmers in China and the tariffs that we're paying for canola and get those stripped down. We have a leader of a political party here to my left who will not attain his clearance, security clearance. Hey, that's the truth. He won't attain his security clearance to actually tell you who the 11 MPs were that you were put in front of to vote.
You're gonna get crucified there, buddy.
So would I get some more time for that, or is?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that you can have 15 more seconds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because we had 11 MPs in this federal election that were the direct agents of or under the influence of foreign interference, and you weren't told. And why can't we actually deal with foreign governments that are influencing us? Because our loyal opposition won't tell us. Thank you very much, Mr. Poilievre.
Okay, I was so irritated by that because that's just a stupid liberal talking point. The reason we don't know is because the liberals won't tell us, and the Foreign Interference Commissioner wouldn't tell us. She flat out said, we're not going to tell you. And Poilievre didn't get the security clearance because along with the security clearance comes the gag. I was just like, what are you even talking about here right now? I'll go to Michael.
Yeah, what annoyed me the most is that he had a double-breasted suit jacket, and I'm not sure if those are back in style. So if they're not back in style, I'm not even considering the guy. I'm no fashionista, but a double-breasted suit jacket?
What
Come
year
on.
is this?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, 1989 call. They wanted suit jacket back. So he did. Sheila, you absolutely nailed it. He just regurgitated liberal talking points with not knowing what he was talking about.
Right.
If this was so important, why are you blaming it on the Conservatives? Blame it on the Liberals where it belongs to be. Why aren't the Liberals talking about it? Oh, that's right. They can't because they're under an NDA. They can't display it. It's like the whole thing is bogus.
Yeah. Yeah, I was all excited. He started off strong. He was going to talk about canola, and I was like, okay, great. I'm listening. And then it's like foreign interference, and the reason you don't know is because of the loyal opposition. I'm like, they're not in government. What are you doing? Right. It was just, he was doing great on many topics, and then he just put her right into the rhubarb. It's quite something. Bird Proud Dad, what do you got to say?
Thought we were done talking about this security clearance, and I don't think we're ever going to be done. And it boggles my mind that we're sitting here in a by-election in a riding that neighbors my riding, and we're talking about Pierre Poilievre's security clearance from a guy who claims that he supports conservatism. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Here's the perfect answer. If Pierre so he talks about the 11 names, right? We don't know the 11 names. If Pierre Poilievre got a security clearance, he wouldn't be able to talk about 11 names. He wouldn't be able to talk about anything. So it is a gag order. It's exactly what it is. It is exactly why they attacked him on it, upcoming to the federal election, during the federal election. And now some what's his name again? Because you guys got me with the suit jacket.
Abraham.
Yeah, Grant Abraham. See, that's how fast he lost his credibility right away, that I took his name and I just tossed it out because I don't care anymore if you're going to use the security clearance as a talking point in an argument. I don't know if he thought he was on Twitter writing a tweet at this point, but it just didn't make any sense to me. And I'm out.
Yeah, it
I'm
sure
out.
didn't land. It didn't land with the audience. That was for sure.
No, and the crazier thing was, if he wouldn't have said that, he would have been the star of the show last night, because everything else he said was perfectly on point with what conservatives want to hear. And then he said that, and it was like, why are you being a lib in this moment? Like, why? Stop it.
It made everything else feel performative.
Yeah, he was doing great right up until that moment. But live and learn, right? Like Grant wouldn't be doing 10-person panel forums in front of the world stage, in front of all of Canada. And so he would have learned from that moment, and I'm telling you, he is going to. The end.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. In this by-election, all of Canada is watching.
Yeah.
All of Canada is watching this by-election. So that's another thing is I wonder how he feels today. I'm going to give him a call. I'm going to find his number and I'm going to call him and I'm going to see if I can ask him some questions.
Yeah. Just to see how he thinks it landed. Report back.
I'll let you guys know. For sure.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, please.
Sounds like his team has reached out to me too.
Perfect. Well, perfect. Have him on.
Yeah. I'm just curious if he regrets that. I don't know what happened there, but we are at the halfway point, actually over the halfway point. Gentlemen, this was a delight. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Just so good. Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Will you be back?
Absolutely.
Yes, you bet.
Okay, perfect. I've got you now on TV saying you will. That's why I asked it. Thank you, guys. We'll hit an ad break and then we'll go back to the rest of the show.
Alberta powers Canada, but Ottawa keeps limiting our potential. The Alberta Next panel wants your ideas to strengthen our sovereignty within a united Canada. Help decide what's next for Alberta. Visit alberta.ca/next.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of
hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted, while criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. Members get instant access to all of our shows, invitations to exclusive events, and access to our premium content like live event footage and documentaries you won't see anywhere else. Only Rebel News Plus members can join the conversation by participating in the comments section of our new website. That way you can have your say too. More than anything though, you'll be able to take pride in supporting real, honest journalism, and you'll help our talented team continue to do the work to push back on the establishment. We really can use your help. We need it, in fact. So thank you, and enjoy Rebel News Plus.
Oh, hey, before we move on, I want to tell you a couple of things. First, it's your last chance to save on tickets to one of the most important conservative events of the year. Most important conservative events of the year that aren't hosted by Rebel News. The Canada Strong and Free Networking Conference is coming to Calgary September 5th and 6th, and the early bird sale ends very, very soon on August 4th. This year's theme is the West Place in Canada. And I think that's an important topic, not just for Westerners, but for the rest of you who might get left holding the bag when we go. And you'll hear some of the biggest voices in Canadian politics and media, including, of course, Premier Danielle Smith, Preston Manning, Conrad Black, and Tristan Hopper. Reserve your tickets today at canadastrongandfree.network. All right. And one more thing before we move on, I want to tell you about our birthday party. If you go to happybirthdayrebel.com, you will find out how to celebrate with us our 10th birthday, which actually passed a little while ago, but we were busy with the election and the leadership change in the Liberal Party. And so we didn't celebrate, we set it aside. We want to celebrate with you because without you, there is no Rebel News. People have predicted the end of Rebel News since the beginning of Rebel News, and most of those people were laid off in mainstream media. And it warms the cockles of my bitter old heart every time I see it. A lot of these guys have shuffled jobs, like a lot of people changed their underpants. And yet I've been here for 10 years and they are just rotating through the mainstream media outlets. Glenn McGregor, Rachel Gilmore, you know I'm talking about you. And so if you want to celebrate our birthday with us, September 18th at the Carriage House Hotel and Conference Center in Calgary, there's going to be music, snacks, and our musical star is Tamara Leach, Convoy superstar. Singing star, Tamara Leach. Live music, cocktails, snacks, meet and greet, photos with your favorite journalist. Lise and I are going to be overdressed. I'm thinking puffy sleeves and sequins, big hair, and
full glam, full glam, fake eyelashes, all the nails, all of the things. It's New Year's Eve in September. You guys gotta be there.
Yes, and there is also a VIP dinner if you are so inclined. You can find out how to get tickets at happybirthdayrebel.com, and I can't wait to see you there. It's going to be great. Very exciting. Okay. All right, let's get into what's left on the day. I can't go too long because I have to, it's Wednesday. So the anti-Christian censorship in our country continues to roll on. And see, this is why when people say to me, Sheila, if Alberta leaves and Saskatchewan leaves with Alberta, you must take Manitoba. To that I say, you guys got some fixing to do before you're allowed to come with the big kids.
Yeah, we're going to take every part outside of Winnipeg, I think. We're just going to annex Winnipeg proper, and then take the rest of Manitoba.
We're going to leave Winnipeg. We're going to leave Winnipeg behind.
Yeah.
I'll be fine if we leave Edmonton behind too, frankly.
Right.
City denies permit for controversial Christian musician's Winnipeg appearance. Why? Safety. City of Winnipeg has canceled a booking permit for a controversial musician who's had shows canceled throughout Eastern Canada. Central Park booking request for a performance by Christian musician Sean Feucht on August 20th. The booking was for the exclusive use of the park, which included a conference. They say, and this is from the city, after careful analysis, we've determined it is not operationally feasible to allow the event at Central Park, the city's spokesperson said. As this is not a ticketed event, forecasting attendance is a challenge that in turn presents additional operational challenges. Okay, that is absolute garbage because Canada Day is not a ticketed event.
Right. That's
right.
It's just a general event that you can stumble in on. And that whole entire sentence, Sheila Gunn-Reid, that whole entire sentence was bureaucratic doublespeak to say, oh, gee, we have a problematic event that accidentally got booked. Well, let's just reference our policies and procedures and regulations and make sure that we can find a reason that this event can't go ahead. That's what's happening here. But nobody's ever accused Winnipeg of being the sharpest marble. Okay. Winnipeg learns its lessons the hard way. If you've ever had the misfortune, the privilege of visiting Winnipeg, nothing against our Winnipeg viewers, but This is
Your
going to
city council leaves a little to be desired. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, this is going to backfire spectacularly on the city of Winnipeg, because not only is this event going to go ahead in a different location, but they are going to have so much press coverage of it that it's going to guarantee it to be a success. So well done, Winnipeg, shining a light on this, and behaving like an authoritarian tyrant. Way to go.
By the way, the province of Alberta, Sean Feucht, is going through the permitting process to use the Alberta legislature grounds. And they use those for anything, right? Like you just have to go through the proper permitting process.
Right.
When we reached out to them for comment, and I show this in my video yesterday, because the left in Alberta is really starting a pressure campaign. Janice Irwin, who was a daily cringe criminal here on Rebel News, NDP MLA dancing shoeless on a street
in an alley.
Enjoy your planter's warts and everything else you contracted. The alphabet soup of hepatitis. David Shepherd, who's the House leader for the NDP, he also spoke out about it, although his was in a dirty delete. He realized, oh, I better leave this to Janice or whatever. They're putting pressure on it. Chris Wells, the sex activist weirdo, Trudeau appointee senator for Alberta, he's also saying, well, this is hateful. Okay. Oh, okay. And then now all of a sudden, he's become some sort of internet theologian where it's like, this isn't what real Christianity is. And I'm like, can I tell you about John 8:11, where Jesus forgives the sinner, but also then says, sin no more, go forth and sin no more. We don't tolerate sin. We forgive the sinner on the condition that you'll do your best not to do it again. It doesn't mean approve everything. Like that's just hedonism then.
Yes, and to put a real fine point on it, for all of these left-leaning goblins who are saying that Sean Feucht should be cancelled in Canada, I wonder if they're going to have anything to say about this little piece of information that comes to us from our friend Melanie Bennett over there at Juno News, who divulges that, who says this on Twitter: while everyone is having a seizure over Sean Feucht, the Islamic Relief Canada group is kicking off its own tour on July 31st. She continues, might I remind you that Islamic Relief Canada was listed as a terrorist organization in 2014. So we have a terror tour, a terror tour that is happening in Canada this summer, kicking off on August 1st through August 10th, with stops in Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver, Alberta, British Columbia, London, Windsor, and Halifax, being hosted by a declared terrorist organization. Are these same people who are saying Sean Feucht should not be in the country performing going to do anything about this declared terrorist group doing a terror tour in Canada this summer?
Kneecap is playing sold out shows. And they're like the Death to the Jews rappers. That's fine. Nobody's saying anything about that. I just want to read from this response. I included it, like I said, I included the response, if you want to see it, in my video that went out yesterday on the NDP cancellation efforts of Sean Feucht in Alberta. This is when we reached out to the Alberta legislature, the Minister of Infrastructure, who is in charge of the legislature grounds. Said to us, Alberta is committed to supporting and respecting everyone's right to free speech. We have we have a duty to uphold these rights and freedoms regardless of an individual's religious or political beliefs. The government of Alberta does not engage in shutting down or censoring law-abiding events. Events held on the Alberta Legislature grounds range from performances, celebrations, and festivals to rallies, flag raisings, and commemorative ceremonies. As is standard practice, organizations may book outdoor or indoor event space at the Alberta Legislature by completing a standard application form. All applicants must comply with established security protocols, public safety requirements, and venue guidelines. And then they go on to confirm to us that Revive in 25, Let Us Worship event scheduled for August 22nd is currently working through its event permit application. And so no special treatment, no special bias against them. You can get the space like everybody else if you go through the permitting process, and the Alberta government will not censor you on the basis of your political or religious beliefs. That's how it's supposed to be every other place in this country, like that.
This is how it's done. This is how it's done. And that Winnipeg saw what happened in Montreal and Toronto and decided to take this course of action says more about the administration of the provincial government of Manitoba than it does anything else.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, I'm going to do that weaponizing femininity story as the daily cringe today because I almost died of just the cringe of reading the journalist, like the shame of the journalist who wrote that piece should be long lasting and I think corrective because how it's one of the dumbest things I've ever read. But moving ahead, Crown attorneys. Oh, I'm not a robot. I'm just trying to read this out of the corner of my eye. Crown attorneys issue rare public response to Pierre Poilievre's attack on the Freedom Convoy prosecution. And let us all just stop and remember that a woman who joined ISIS with the intent of marrying an ISIS fighter and then providing to them children to be the next generation of ISIS fighters after we all know what ISIS did to Christians and Yazidis. They had slave markets. They were burning them alive. Human slavery of all the kinds. I'm trying to keep us on YouTube here. She saw that and she's like, you know what? Where do I sign up, sister? And she went over there and she got 1 day in jail, a sleepover.
A sleepover.
And so the Ontario Crown Attorneys Association primarily targets remarks by conservative politicians who criticize prosecutors for pursuing what they called excessively harsh sentences in the Freedom Convoy case. Yeah, but you did. It said a provincial prosecutors association, Doug Ford's Crown Prosecutors, has taken the rare step of issuing a public response to what it describes as attacks on the independence of the prosecutorial system and the rule of law. I believe their attempts to sentence these guys to 7 and 8 years, respectively. Tamara Leach and Chris Barber, I'll say it in the way that I said the sentences, plus crushing Big Red Chris's truck and his livelihood. I think that draws the administration of justice in this country into disrepute.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct. And what we have here is Crown prosecutors who are so insulated from regular feedback that any feedback feels like an attack on them. And the truth of the matter is, we elect our politicians to talk about things like this. And if it's not for the politicians making the laws that the Crown prosecutors then apply to the population, that, like, all of these things are interconnected. Of course, politicians should be able to and should talk about ongoing issues in our justice system, but that we have this precious group of our judiciary who absolutely consider themselves to be above reproach.
Yeah,
that's right. But they consider themselves to be above reproach. How dare you talk about the hallowed ground that we tread upon? Well, you work for the people. And if you're doing a poor job, or if you're being malicious or vindictive, then you deserve that public feedback. Like these poor, this poor association. I bet they had a struggle session after.
Oh,
they had a group hug after this.
These are the comments from Poilievre that they took umbrage with. Let's get this straight. This is what Poilievre put on Twitter, X. Let's get this straight. While rampant violent offenders are released hours after their most recent charges, and anti-Semitic rioters vandalize businesses, terrorize daycare centers, and block traffic without consequence, the Crown wants 7 years prison time for a charge of mischief for Leach and Barber. How is this justice? Yeah, I mean,
nothing about that is untrue.
No,
nothing
and the
about
choice
that is untrue.
If the prosecutors don't want us to talk about them, I mean, why even have a justice minister who oversees them then? Right? Like, why even have that? If you don't want any oversight, political oversight, then why do we talk about crime and justice during election campaigns? It is an issue the public faces, and they need to come to terms with their role in fueling the crime statistics in this country, because they are part of the catch and release problem in this country. When you have cops actually doing the job in some of these communities, rounding people up and putting them before a justice of the peace, and the justice of the peace says, you know what, we'll let you out on $50, but no cash bail, and there's absolutely no objection from the Crown, or the Crown drops a bunch of charges, even though the charges would stick, to make a plea deal to get some things off their plate. We get to talk about that, because we as the public have to live with the consequences of letting these recidivists out on the street.
Yes, the purpose of having laws is to maintain order. And when those laws and when the judiciary creates chaos, well, then no, that's when we need our elected politicians to step in and say, judiciary, you guys need to get your heads on right, because you're out of step with what the population expects of you. And these are people that are just not accustomed to having any public feedback. They are just not.
Yeah, like how about your decisions are fueling the escalating crime rates? When you don't object to these people being let out with no cash bail, or objecting to them getting bail at all and arguing against bail, when they don't pursue with the heavy hand of the law the actual bad guys, but then they pursue with the heavy hand of the law people like Tamara and Chris, of course we are going to think that it is politically motivated, while the rest of us are dealing with our cars being stolen all the time.
But then what adds insult to injury is that they pretend to be above it all.
Oh, yes, how dare you?
We cannot be politically swayed, you see, because we are the arbiters. We are the arbiters of what is good and fair and just in the world. When really, if you're just a regular Canadian and you're seeing them pull these punches on the public, while not doing their jobs and not fulfilling the mandate of justice, creating and maintaining order, well, you got a lot to answer for. You can just add, the Canadian justice system to the long list of public institutions that are beclowning themselves with their own craziness.
I've got a particular opinion on this, because the former Crown on the Tamara Leach case went after me personally and tried to pursue me for contempt after a journalist in Ottawa made a politically motivated attack against me, and then tried to say that I breached a court order. And they tried to have me drugged to Ottawa, and the prosecutor there conspired with the journalist there to, try to have me hauled before the court. Thankfully, the judge said, no, whatever. Whatever contempt there was mitigated. And anyway,
and
so
we are to believe that this is all fair and just. Sure. Sure.
When they're collaborating with liberal journalists to go after the conservative ones who are covering these cases, I know that these Crown prosecutors are not above politics. I was very nearly a victim of it myself. But Ezra didn't let anything bad happen to me. Yep. Let's go to this one, because this is what running your mouth and elbows up costs the good people of Ontario. Not only did it cost you a stable internet connection thanks to the wonders of Starlink, but Doug Ford, who canceled the contract with Starlink to provide rural internet, which is what I have. I'm coming to you by Starlink. He did it for elbows up, anti-American, anti-Trump reasons, because Elon Musk at the time was working within the Trump administration on Doge, and Trump supporter during the campaign. Ford, there's a Freudian slip, but what's the difference, right? Ford government, it just cost you Ontarians $100 million in cancellation fees to Starlink to really just show Elon Musk who's boss. Elon Musk spent nearly $50 billion to buy Twitter just because he liked free speech. Now he's turned it into something much better, but that was just $50 billion to just prove a point. Do you think that he is remotely affected by Doug Ford showing him who's boss. No, at the end of the day, it's the people of Ontario who are paying for Doug Ford's elbows up tantrum.
Who are going to suffer, And really, Starlink is the answer to so many connectivity issues as it pertains to rural and remote regions of our humongous country. You know, pop this thing open like a little suitcase and away it goes 30 seconds later. No, Doug Ford in a hissy fit ahead of the federal election said he's canceling the Starlink contract. This is going to plunge great big humongous swaths of Ontario into digital darkness until he figures out a way for a Canadian company, an elbows up company, to come and fill this void. And guess what? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for years. And if it does, it's going to cost many, many, many hundreds of times more than Starlink would have. So it's really funny. Like, we should ask Doug Ford, well, now that Elon and Trump are on the outs, like, do you feel stupid about canceling that contract?
Right. Like, at the end of the day, for purely political spite, rural Ontarians will have their businesses suffer, their education suffer, their connectivity suffer, the convenience suffer, because everybody relies on the internet for all of those things. Besides entertainment, and for what? Now rural Ontarians have to pay $10 or $100 million plus also wait years before they get something less reliable that doesn't really exist yet and will cost more money.
Yeah.
You really showed him, Doug.
Yeah. Way to go, Doug. Again. Well
done,
Doge
thyself, Doug. Okay. Let's do the daily cringe and then we got to chat.
Okay.
This one. It is Global News. You must recall that Global News hired Rachel Gilmore for a time to tell us how we should discriminate against our friends and relatives. Well, they haven't given up on being so cringy. Extremist influencers are weaponizing femininity, warns Canadian intelligence report. And I'm critical. I don't dislike Stuart Bell. And I guess at the end of the day, I should be more critical of the Canadian Intelligence Service that thought that this was a real thing. But women's workout routines, like this is from the article. Women's workout routines that devolve into anti-government rhetoric. Look, I'm training for the fall of civilization, and I blame the government for that. Like, that is my workout routine. As Lise knows.
Yeah.
My fun is to lift up heavy things and put them back down.
And put them down again. Yeah.
And then run for the day that I have to run from something or to something so that I can get away from something or get something faster than everybody else. This is the fall of civilization. I'm ready for it now. We'll blame the government when it happens. But anyways, women's workout routines that devolve into anti-government rhetoric. It's like they're following me with a hidden camera.
They're describing us, Sheila Gunn-Reid. They are literally describing us right now because
we had this makeup talk the other day. We
literally talked about this just the other day because Sheila and I are both fans of like granny core stuff, like doing ultra ladylike things just for fun. Like, this is how I am the first one to admit that I use my femininity as a weapon every day of my life. I can't remember the last time I didn't, to be completely honest. It's how I move through my life. And yes, I like making chocolate cupcakes, and then also ranting about the government in the middle, and then going back to doing, vacuuming or scrubbing the counters or doing whatever. But this is literally showing us, Sheila, how off the mark our intelligence agencies in Canada are. Because what they're actually saying is there is a bunch of women out there who have thoughts and opinions, and they're sharing them. Yeah, they're sharing them while they're doing ladylike things. And this is a threat. This is a threat. And I do believe, Sheila Gunn-Reid, that this is the birth. Okay, this here report is the birth of like rebel moms. This is how we're just going to embrace it. We're just going to embrace this and run with it because only grants. Remember when we brought up only grants and our viewers went nuts. They were like, we would sign up for only grants. It just goes to show you that we are extremely feminine. We're going to lean into our femininity, and we're not going to stop talking about things that matter to us. As a matter of fact, I think that this is the definition of misogyny, where you say, now sit down, little ladies. You want to do workout videos or cooking videos or, you know, your girly things. You must not talk about matters of importance. You must not. You must just contain it. This is an act of blatant misogyny by our intelligence community, and we're just going to make it work for us.
You know, that's
Grants
an
coming
interesting
soon.
point, because when I saw this, I was like, have you never met a normal woman? Because normal women actually talk about these things, right?
Yeah, all the time.
They think that we are supposed to have this homogenous viewpoint,
one-dimensional,
of being a bunch of pro-LGBTQ plus shallow feminists who only have one child because we care about climate change. Like, you know, we're not supposed to, they want to say that we are not supposed to be like me. And look, Lisa and I are kind of different. You can see we're kind of different in our appearance and stuff like that. I like to shoot things and lift up heavy things. Lise likes to drink wine and watch Real Housewives. But we are both valid women. But according to the Canadian intelligence agencies,
our interests, yes, our interests make us extreme, which is insane. Which is insane. As long as we just are pretty, Sheila Gunn Reid, as long as we just stand there and are pretty and don't say anything, well, then we're safe. Then we're marked safe by the Canadian intelligence community. But as soon as we have opinions, well, then that's what makes us dangerous. And it's my life goal to be a menace. So.
Well, it's so funny. It was only a matter of time before we went from toxic masculinity to weaponized femininity.
To toxic femininity. Yeah.
The rest of this is stuff that you and I have actually talked about, because we do think about the cultural and psychological implications of makeup tutorials that use drag techniques like the heavy contour and so like these exaggerated drag features. I'm like, I'm not doing that to my face. Maybe my makeup won't look good, but I am not using the skills taught to us by men who costume us. I'm not doing that. So we talked about this.
We talk about this actually so much, like in our personal relationship, and not abiding by the standards that the left sets for women. So we lean into the feminine parts of ourselves. We lean into all of our strengths, and we will be unstopped by whatever blatant misogyny this is.
They say personal finance videos that blame immigrants for stealing jobs. It's a fact that youth unemployment is affected by the temporary foreign workers program. Like the numbers are almost identical.
Yeah.
This is how many kids are unemployed age 15 to 19. And this is how many people are in the country who shouldn't be. 1 in 5 jobs is done by a temporary foreign worker, and 1 in 5 young people are unemployed. Actually, it's more than that. It's closer to 1 in 4. And so as mothers, we're not supposed to talk about that, I guess.
No. Like when you notice these things having a negative consequence to your life or to your children's lives or to your family, you must not talk about it, because then, as per global news and Canadian intelligence, that makes you an extremist. Like, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. But this dovetails perfectly into Canadian intelligence saying that parental rights advocates,
traditional values are extremists.
Values are extremists. Like, we can just lump this all in the same pen. Yeah. But in any case, Rebel Fam, you can trust that me and Sheila Gunn Reid are going to be unchanging in this regard. We are just going to keep on keeping on, and we are not going to let this phase us. As a matter of fact, we're going to lean in.
Yeah. I was given sourdough advice long before everybody was into sourdough. I helped Tara make jam the other day online. She texted me for advice, and I was like, Tara,
I saw it.
Yeah. Let me tell you how to get them jars to seal. And anyways, this intelligence, I guess, intel note basically says that us women who care about these things and not being a welcoming space for men to be in our change rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
they're basically saying we're being used by the men, as if we're not smart enough to come by these opinions honestly. They say these women foster a sense of community that creates spaces that put their followers at ease, thereby normalizing and mainstreaming extremist rhetoric, according to the Strategic Intelligence Brief.
You know, this is what they're saying. These women with their nice faces and their good ideas and their great opinions are luring other women to have nice faces, good opinions, and great ideas. And this is real dangerous for the deep state.
Imagine
who want to control them. It's bad news. Bad news.
Imagine me telling people I like to swing kettlebells. According to the Canadian Intelligence Services, I'm the problem, but the broad who just went to Syria and came back, she's just incidental. She ain't
100%
anything,
A-okay.
Sheila.
100% A-okay. Yeah.
Oh, it's wild.
This is upside down world, and we're living through it, guys. We're living through it.
I want to know how much that report cost.
Let's find out.
Some intelligence nerd in an office somewhere just watching hours and hours and hours of sourdough videos and gardening videos.
Yeah, reading mommy blogs, watching what the mommy bloggers are saying. And I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this. I was a mommy blogger. Didn't buy a diaper for any of my 4 kids for like the first 9 months of their lives. Blogs for every major company you can possibly think of, and they would describe me as an extremist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. A garden.
You've seen nothing yet. You've seen nothing yet. You wait. Just you wait.
This is how I like go outside and rototill another half acre for potatoes for next year. That's how this stuff radicalizes me. I see this and I'm like, oh God, I got to learn how to live off the land a little bit more.
Yeah.
And like my generations of my family, like I live on a family farm. For those of you who don't know, my family broke this land with their backs in their hands in 1903. It fed generations of my family. All of this fed them. They didn't go to town for stuff. So they grew their food. And I'm a radical because I put tomatoes in with my flower, like my pots of flowers, because I think, well, that dirt I should be using to grow food too, because that's what my grandma did.
Yeah.
I'm a radical now.
Yeah. This makes me want to say to my husband when he gets home from work tonight, hey, I was thinking that we should get some chickens.
Yeah.
What do you think about me raising some chickens? My husband would laugh and laugh. I would say, no, it's a great idea. We will have eggs and chickens for as long as we live. And he will laugh and laugh. But then one day, he will come home and we will have chickens. There will be chickens.
Yep.
And I'm just we're just gonna lead into it. I love this.
Yeah, this is how you get more. This is how I just, like I said, this is how I rototill up more yard for the garden, plant more tomatoes, do 20 dozen jars of pickles this year instead of just my standard 14 to 16. This is how you get more of that.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of super chats here and then 3, and then we'll wrap her up. J and R 699 no chat, but thank you so much.
Yeah.
Cicely Bardwell gives us $5. Thank you, ladies. No chat from me, just all ears. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Cicely.
Regular donor.
She's the best.
Kevin Hall gives us $5. When the zombie apocalypse happens, cover your homes with liberal signage because zombies only crave brains.
That is a fantastic idea.
Yeah. And also, you'll cover your home with liberal signage so that people won't come and loot it because they'll know you're not prepared.
Right.
So they just won't even bother.
Right.
They've got nothing there. They don't know how to do things. We're just going to leave them alone. They're going to die on their own. Nana Awake is this $10. So this whiskey drinking, skeet shooting woman without a filter is definitely on Canada's hit list. Good thing we don't have real problems in Canada. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, our public safety minister is writing letters of recommendation for actual terrorists.
Yeah.
But
our public institutions
they're
call
watching us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good to have fans, even lurking in the background intelligence community. It's really great. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Not at all weird.
P. Schofield 10 gives us $5 and says, you right-wing feminazis, you, Rush Limbaugh, would be so proud. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, God, can you imagine? This is what our government is doing. We're out here just trying to live off the land because groceries are too expensive. And the government is like, you got to be on a watch list, lady.
Yeah, you've had more than one child. My God.
All right.
You radical. You radical.
By the way, I got some prickly feedback last night after I went back and looked at the comments in the live stream that we did covering the election. And
Tell me.
The NDP lady, Catherine Swampy, she was talking about how thanks to the NDP, diabetes meds and birth control were covered under the healthcare. And I said, by and large, those are lifestyle related things. And I don't want to pay for people's lifestyle related stuff. And then somebody wrote to me and said, I'm a type 1 diabetic and it's genetic. It's not a lifestyle issue. To which I responded, okay, but you're the exception, not the rule.
Right. We weren't talking about you. Again,
5% of diabetics are type 1 diabetics. Everyone else is a type 2 diabetic. Everyone else. Just ask the makers of Ozempic. And so those, by and large, are lifestyle related things, just like the birth control.
Yeah.
Just get out there, get swinging your kettlebells, people. Oh, one more. Jay Peterson gives us $5 and says, if you put up liberal signage, it will attract people because they know you can't defend it. Okay, that's also an argument too. I mean, they can't defend it, but also they'll also know that you don't have guns.
Right. Right. It's a safe zone.
You don't have food. You don't have food, but you probably have a rainbow flag. Okay. I think that's it, everybody. That's the show for today. I got to get back to work because my friend Tamara Ugolini, who helps me when I'm busy, is off today, and I don't want the company to have ground to a halt while I'm on air talking to my best friend. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks, Olivia Efron. It's great. Buffalo panelists also. Alberta Proud Dad, and Michael Kouros. Thanks, guys, so much.
They were just great, weren't they? Like, just such a great show. And Sheila Gunn Reid, thanks so much for the grind that you put into this every day. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow, as I tend to be. Thanks, everybody who pitched in a little bit of their hard-earned cash, their hard-earned dollar dues to keep the lights on here at Rebel News. We appreciate you so much. And for those of you who just join us, support us, and share the stream wherever you might think it needs to be shared, we appreciate you so much. That's the kind of support that, of course, money can't buy. And I invented a new tagline last night live on the stream. And I think it goes something like, if you find us offensive, maybe don't find us at all.